Okay, I'm going to fucking get this, guys. What were minstrel shows? They White people put on blackface and pretended to be various different stereotypes of the black population, including Jim Crow, that was based on a disabled black man from hashtag Cincinnati, Ohio, Jim Dandy, who was a funny stereotype because it was a black man who could dress well, the Zip Coon, the coon being a person where we get the stereotypes of black people loving to just eat watermelon, be lazy, and just butcher the English language and kind of have this black dialect. And of course, the Sambo, who is more childish and contributes to the infantilizing the entire black population. Whiteness. Whiteness started to develop as an antithesis to blackness. So white people were able to put on blackness, and thus when they took it off and were superior to the stuff they were just making fun of, it started to create whiteness. And while minstrel shows also characterized and made fun of other races like Yiddish, probably I think Irish was one of them, Chinese being a little bit harder to pass off as whiteness, there became this conglomeration of people who were basically white and then blackness and black characters and black performers. Um, the three act form basically started with a song, right? Yep, it started with a little song. Second act, there were variety performances, and the third act it was an idyllic sort of scene about plantation life. And eventually, as black performers started to, use these shows to try and subvert the stereotypes they were participating in because they had no other way to sort of communicate with audiences. Um, the stereotypes created and the characters made and the references to the characters and the whole style sort of became its own self-sustaining living thing and became its own style. Following through, as there became more black performers, such as Ernest Hogan, who's in the hat, and starred in the first all black cast musical on Broadway, Clorindy. What is difficult about this time period and these black actors during this time period is that the shows were still defined by stuff like coon songs. I talked about coon and sort of the minstrelsy comedy. They weren't allowed to be serious. They had to be something that white people could laugh at, essentially. So while black performers communicating to black audiences allowed for more freedom and sort of subliminal messaging, they still weren't completely able to express themselves in a true manner. And by participating in these stereotypes even more, it continued to solidify how black people were identified in American culture. And on the bottom, we have Burt Williams, Ma Rainey, U.B. Blake, and Jackie Moms Mapley, who are just some of the performers, musicians, comedians that were popular during this time period. And I have a little bit of Burt Williams, and I just want to focus on his physicality, his comedic sense. Right? So everything's silly. He's, of course, in blackface. Fucked up. Anyway. Stop it. No. Next slide. So, following from early 1900s to later on, just a little, what is it called? A case study. There we go. The Music Man. Okay. When it first went out as a movie, there was specifically a song called "You Got Trouble," in which one of the lyrics is talking. The Music Man is talking about, oh, your kids are going to be corrupted by this pool table in the tavern or whatever. And he also warns against them listening to shameless ragtime and the jungle animal instinct that will come in the kids. Sorry, I don't know why I have. Okay, excuse me. Which in the Music Man revival was changed from shameless ragtime into modern music, and the whole jungle animal thing was swapped for the depths of a syncopated frenzy. But while this edited the obviously sort of racist things that were going on, the point is that we reached a point in media and performances where black people could be mocked without them even being there. And then when we sort of editorialize these revivals that we're doing, We erase, of course, the bad stuff that we did as white, I say we as in white people and white writers, but then we failed to cast actual people of color and black creatives in the revivals and shows that we're doing. So, next case in point. Where are we getting black roles? Okay? This can happen, oh God, whenever there's a first black anything, a first black Phantom, a first black Linda, a first black Genie, you name it, okay? However, white people have come to expect black people to only play certain types of roles, which is why you see so many bigoted people throwing a fucking outrage when black people become the first black white role. When they take on a white role, people go apeshit, okay? Then we have this beautiful new and welcoming renaissance of black written shows that are full of diverse casting, okay? What's the issue here? Obviously, the shows themselves aren't the issue. What is happening is that they're not given enough attention. Sometimes they're straight up directed by white people. And there's something called the scarcity model, which we will touch on. So there is a special little place for these kind of musicals, but they're not given the space and attention that they need. So, Hairspray. Hairspray was written by two old white men, okay? And in it, the black characters are named Seaweed Little Inez and Motormouth Mabel, who's the sassy Cordy Collins DJ, contrasted with the white characters Tracy, Wilbur, Penny. You see my point. In this scene, there's also a clear dialect difference in how they're speaking and and this whole show ends up glorifying Tracy as the white savior. And I have a point about white saviorism in the next slide, but first just pay attention to how Seaweed is reminiscent of the earlier clip I showed where he is completely polite, kind, welcoming of Tracy, easygoing, okay?
Call it the Peyton Place after midnight. I use it to attract the opposite sex.
Wow. That is so groovy. You're really good.
Thank you.
So, would it be kind of like this?
You can't do that dance. Hold on now. Not bad for a white chick.
Hey, I know where I've seen you before.
Oh, wait, never mind, see this.
Where?
On Corny's show on Negro Day. Negro Day is the best. I wish every day were Negro Day.
God, so we get into this, right? See, which is so nice to her, and Tracy's like, yeah, let's like be
Call
friends,
it the Peyton Place
and everything goes fucking great, okay? Remember how with Jim Crow, it got turned into a pro-slavery thing. There was a reversal of how the story was supposed to be perceived. I posit that in the interest of white people being left completely blameless for slavery and the oppression of black people, the stereotype of the white savior arose to counter the image of a benevolent slave owner, because we go from, of course, owning them to saving them, again removing any agency and power to black people, okay? Tracy's the white savior. The black characters in a musical set in the civil rights movement are secondary, and they are stereotyped based on the stereotypes from the original minstrel shows, okay? Okay. Next slide. What is the scarcity model? So we have a couple of things that are going on here. One of them being that when black writers and lyricists and creators make something for BIPOC audiences and for themselves, as per 2019, black actors whose representation on stage increased led to a decline in representation for Asian Americans, Latinx, MENA, and Indigenous actors, okay? What is the scarcity model? The idea that white audience can only take so much authentic BIPOC representation in our media. We just aren't making the space for it. So what the fuck do we do? Also, when BIPOC creators do write something, and it's not to the stereotypes that we expect, and it's subversive, and it's something else, 81.3% of directors on Broadway were white. And 5 out of 5 Broadway productions written by at least one BIPOC writer were directed by a white director, and 20 out of 34 productions were directed by a white director, regardless of who it was written by. We're still gatekeeping and controlling everything that that BIPOC creators are trying to create. God, it's fucking 10 minutes. The point of this is we need to build a new Broadway. We need to build a new musical theater landscape, because what the minstrel shows did is they are the birth of racism. Everything that racism is and how it has penetrated American culture was born from the stereotypes made in minstrel shows. And as Black creators are trying to break out of it, we're not only keeping them confined in a little corner of Broadway, but we I need to fucking think about this. We've defined. Hold on. I was really on a train to somewhere. What's my next slide? I was on a train to somewhere. The visibility report. If nothing else, I've gone almost twice the limit. Check out the visibility report, okay? It actually covers and holds Broadway accountable for our inclusion practices and who is actually showing up on Broadway. So, in summary, the stereotypes created by minstrelsy have funneled current modern day musical theater Black artists into one of 3 routes, okay? They can be cast in ensemble or as stereotyped side characters written by white people. They can be excluded from previously racist revivals and then barely be included in like any of the leads and stuff like that, and they're not compensated at all story-wise. Or 3, when they do create Black represented shows intending to claim the stereotypes that were put on them and reframe them, they are overseen and put in a corner and not given enough space to actually impact the greater fucking gnarled mess that is racism. And so, if we're questioning where is minstrelsy in the modern musical theater landscape, where the fuck is racism in everything we see in America? It's everywhere. And so, how do we get rid of it? How do we change it? We make a new table, okay? We make a new table. I thought I could do this in 6 minutes. Okay. Ooh.